Good afternoon. Dale Wlasitz. I'm responsible for analog and mixed signal applications in Western Canada for Texas Instruments. And I want to speak to you today about semiconductor solutions in medical systems. So a number of you are probably aware of Texas Instruments from our calculators. That's probably the image that you have about TI. And that's true. They represent about 5% of our business today. However, in the other products that we're involved in are not quite as obvious to your eye. From automotive, televisions, set-top boxes, video systems, cell phones, any of the communications that you make may pass through a cell site, and we have Texas Instruments semiconductors within those pieces of electronics, right through to medical electronics. And TI recognized that medical is a growing industry. It has been a growing industry. And so a medical division was formed in 2006 to address the medical space. So there's aging populations as a driver in that determination. The global trends on the rising healthcare costs, as well as emerging marketplaces like China and India. Some of these places have limited power, not consistent power, so the demands for portable electronics, battery-powered types of instruments, demand that type of growth. So, we're seeing even in portable electronics and personal healthcare, people are interested in being more fit. They also want to be able to go home with their portable electronics and download the data from their run to their personal computer to analyze and keep track of their performance. So, this is basically the slide that represents that in the past 25 years we've seen a great deal of growth, and it's expected that the next 10 to 15 years there isn't going to be a great deal of change. There's going to be continued growth in the medical market space. So semiconductors' impact in electronics has been fairly dramatic. In the 1980s we started off with personal computers that were IBM XTs that ran at 4 megahertz, and you could get a few kilobytes of data storage in your floppy disk drive. Today, those same computers, less expensive, are offering you USB 3 that you can stream 6 gigabits of data rate out of your USB port. And solid-state disk drives, so you can take your laptop and drop it on the floor and not worry about that rotating disk inside. The other advantages to those solid-state drives is you can press the on button and instantaneously your operating system is up and alive. There's no booting of your system. And the same thing occurs when you power the system down. Communications have really transformed. The first cell phones were the automobile cell phone that would actually be housed in the trunk of the car, and there would be a handset inside. That's long gone. We have smartphones today. You can run different applications with them. It's really transformed. So in a short period of time, electronics, semiconductor industry has really transformed these market spaces. And we believe the same things are occurring in the medical space. I was employed by Toshiba Medical Systems, and one of the ultrasound scanners that was introduced was a portable ultrasound scanner. It almost took 2 hands to lift it up, but it was portable. And the controller card inside of it was almost the size of an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. It was quite large. That same portable ultrasound scanner today is small, handheld. An ultrasound system like this is fairly complex. There's independent blocks throughout the whole system. Through a user interface, you decide how you want to configure the image that you see. And basically, from the front end, you generate an analog signal that's driven into a transducer that produces a wave into the tissue. And from that received echoes, you can look at tissue density changes and then process that through the digital logic within the device and display it, have audio outputs, and so on. There's a lot of blocks to an ultrasound scanner because they're a fairly complex piece of equipment. So what we do at Texas Instruments and many other manufacturers, we take those blocks and try to integrate them into a much smaller piece, and we address just about every portion of the ultrasound system with semiconductor products. So within that ultrasound system, you may see, 4 different high-end processors. All of those processors literally would be able to sit on the palm of your hand. They're so physically small as semiconductor geometries are dropping smaller and smaller. There's a big, broad market to the healthcare and where semiconductors can influence, from the consumer medical devices being portable temperature monitoring types of devices, heart rate monitors, right through to the blood pressure monitors. All of these devices are all consumer devices that are available today. The patient monitoring and diagnostics. There's a number of implantables, blood pressure, temperature monitoring. The instruments or the diagnostic side of things. There's a number of instruments that are involved in that area, as well as the medical imaging side, nuclear medicine, ultrasound, and so on. So it's a very broad market that can be addressed in all kinds of the semiconductor products that are available. So the trends in innovation is one of the the areas that are, it's improving the care, it's improving people's lives. One of the stories that was relayed to me about the blood glucose monitor was that through new technologies, there was a single IC that was able to provide a less of a blood sample that was taken. And there was a little girl, she never had a dream, because every 2 hours she had to be woken up and she had to give a blood sample so that she could be tested. The new advances that were made, the small amount of blood that she had to take as far as a sample meant that she could actually sleep through that sample, and she could actually get into REM sleep, and she actually had a dream, which was quite interesting. Diagnostic and patient monitoring and therapy. There's times where patient monitoring doesn't have to happen within a hospital environment. It can happen at home. Data can be transmitted then through wireless technologies or through wide area networks to doctor's office. So monitoring is a lot more simplified. Medical imaging, where in cases where there's remote locations, data is taken, that those images have to go to a diagnostic center where higher qualified practitioners are able to take and look at the data and make a better determination on what has to happen with the patient. So moving that data and medical imaging moving is a great area that's through the wireless technology. And in the medical instruments, the innovations on things like the vein scanning technologies, where they actually use a scanning technology with infrared to actually see the veins through the skin, which is very difficult in infants because the size of their veins is smaller, and individuals which have darker skin pigments. And so what they do is they identify where the veins are, and then use an image overlay, so that the image is projected on top of the skin as to where the veins are beneath.